Good evening and welcome to Creatively Speaking. I'm Darlene Arden and I'm here with a very special guest, and she's with us for the entire program. Our guest, author Mameve Medwed. She is and I've mispronounced her name, it's Mameve, and if I don't do that, you audience members can come and correct me. Or just send it to creativelyspeak@aol.com. I'll get the message. Mameve is no stranger to Creatively Speaking viewers. The Bangor, Maine native is the author of 3 novels, Mail, Host Family, and her newest novel with the great title, End of an Era. That would be ERROR. Her short stories, essays, and book reviews have appeared in, among others, Yankee, Red Book, Playgirl, oh, really? The Boston Globe, Ascent, the Missouri Review, Confrontation, Playgirl and Confrontation, I'm thinking about that, the Readerville Journal, and Newsday. She has taught fiction writing for many years at the Cambridge Center for Adult Education. Her first novel, Mail, that's M-A-I-L, has been optioned for the movies by Archer Films producer Anand Tucker, director of Hillary and Jackie, and Steve Martin's In Progress Shop Girl. He's been doing that for a long time, hasn't he? Mail will be directed by Sharon McGuire, who did Bridget Jones's Diary. Oh, this is going to be good. And we'll have a screenplay by none other than Wendy Wasserstein. Mameve and her husband have 2 sons. They live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I'm so excited that she's back with us. Welcome back to Creatively Speaking.
Delighted to be here, darling.
What fun to have you here. We haven't seen you since Host Family.
I know, 3 years ago, I think.
Oh my, well how long did it take you to write End of an Era?
About 2 years. Every novel seems to take about 2 years.
Does it?
And then I wait forever for it to come out.
Well, yes, it's terrible because you just have to sit. People don't understand the production schedule and the time and the extra effort afterwards with the editing process, which is a form of torture.
It's a form of torture, and then it's just the waiting. There's just so much waiting because they have to position the book at a good time to come out, and it depends, what other books are coming out at that time. So there's just tremendous amounts of waiting.
I've often thought I could give birth to a rhinoceros in the amount of time, the gestation period for a book. Yes.
I know.
But this is so exciting. End of an Era is wonderful.
Thank you.
I have to tell you, I could not put it down, even though I'm supposed to be writing my own book, so I would snatch little
tomorrow.
moments.
I know that.
With little moments, I would just grab them to read, and I was turning pages. It's wonderful. It's so satisfying to read this. Where did the inspiration come from for End of an Era?
Well, it came from my own grandmother. Maybe I'll say a little bit about what the book is about. The book is about a middle-aged woman who lives in Maine in the house where she grew up, in the small college town where she grew up, married to her high school sweetheart, who, when she was 18, took a trip to Europe with her grandmother, who was this incredible anti-MAME, eccentric, wacky woman.
Glorious.
A wonderful woman, larger than life in every way, and the complete opposite of her family, of her background, of everything. And on that trip, she met a young man in London, and she fell madly in love. And this was probably, she spent 2 days with him, 3 days with him. But it was the first love. And in her middle age, she has written a memoir of the summer she spent with her grandmother, a memoir of her grandmother. And in the process of writing that, she writes about her first love and decides to send this first love the memoir. And millions of years have passed, and all of a sudden things happen. He gets it, and things happen. And she moves back and forth in time, remembering that first love. And it's sort of the theme of what if, in your middle age, you think, well, what if I had taken that road, if I had married that person, if I had lived in that town? And that's what the book is about.
Wonderful. I found it so satisfying to read. And by the time I got to the last page, I was just so involved that I want a sequel to this book.
Oh, that's a lovely compliment.
Oh, I just loved her. I have to ask you, there's a photograph right at the beginning.
Yes.
Is that a composite or a real person?
It's my grandmother. It's a photograph of my grandmother.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Isn't it beautiful?
Oh,
and I was so excited that my publishers let me put that
Oh,
in.
I was thrilled to see that because I've never seen anything like that in a pure
in
novel.
a novel, that's right.
And it was an exact description of what she was wearing, which was why I asked if it might be a composite or if you'd worked from something.
Yeah, no, it was a photograph of her, and Lee Emery, my protagonist, has that photograph of the grandmother on her memoir.
Oh, it's just wonderful.
I
And as I
know.
was reading her description, I kept going back and looking at the picture
Oh,
and comparing
I
notes, and it was
know.
just, you have to buy this book and read it.
Oh, buy the book,
Yes.
yeah.
You'll want to read it again. I want to go back and read it a second
Oh.
time. It is, has anybody mentioned film?
Not yet.
They
Not
should.
yet.
What's the matter with them? This is perfect.
I think it would make a really good movie.
Oh yeah, the locations
Yeah.
are fabulous.
Yeah.
The story is one that resonates with all of us, I think.
Well, we've all had grandmothers or people in our lives whom we've adored, who may have been difficult. This grandmother was difficult,
Oh,
but
she was
wonderful.
difficult in a fun way.
In a fun
Some people are
way.
difficult in an, oh my gosh, is she coming? Can I get rid
Yeah,
of this person?
I know.
But this grandmother is like Auntie Mame. I mean,
Yeah.
I read it thinking of that line, I will open worlds for you.
I
will open
know,
doors for you. And I thought,
exactly.
she took her to Europe. She did what we all would love to do, that grand tour in grand style, even if she
know.
did drive the granddaughter nuts. I'm not giving away too much. This is early on.
Yeah.
I love the way you go back and forth, and it does capture the moments in her past, in Lee's past, that are every bit as real and to the minute as the present time you wrote in. What made you decide to do it
This
that way?
was the first time. I think as a writer, with every book, you try to set the bar a little higher, set yourself harder task. And my first one was Mail was a straight down the line narrative, and Host Family was sort of divided in two, and the two sections were kind of mirror images of each other. And I decided I wanted a wider canvas, more years to cover, more geography, and so that's what I did. So it moves back and forth quite a bit, and it moves. It's Maine, New York, London, Wales, all over the
locales,
place.
It would make a great movie because the locales are wonderful.
Oh, well, I hope I hope somebody will be listening to you.
I hope so too.
And Hollywood will be calling.
What's happening with Mail? When is that starting?
I know. I think it's going to be pretty soon. I talked to the producer who said he's in LA now doing Steve Martin's Shop Girl, and he said my director is working on nothing but Mail, trying to shape the scenes and stuff. So he thinks very soon it will be sent out for casting.
Oh.
So I hope so. These things take so
They
long.
take forever, but it would be such fun.
I think it would be a
premiere,
good.
your movie, your book.
Well, we went
All
to,
that kind of fun.
we were invited, my husband and I were invited to the premiere of Bridget Jones' Diary.
Oh.
So we went to New York, and it was at the Ziegfeld Theater, and we were so excited, and we went, and there was a big red carpet out. And it just happened that as we were walking in, right in front of us was Renee Zellweger.
Oh.
So all these lights were going, and all these paparazzis were saying, stop, stop, and she was posing. And then all of a sudden we followed, and I heard somebody say, who are they? Somebody else said, nobody, and all the lights went off,
But next time,
I
you'll be the
know.
author on whose book this was. The
Well, I
movie was
think the
based.
writer is the least important in Hollywood. But we did go. We sat with the director, and then we went to this party after.
Oh.
And we met Hugh Grant, and all these celebrities were there, and we met Renee Zellweger in the ladies' room, who said, I can't believe I didn't put on my mascara. I said, you look beautiful. And she said, I do. And I said, yes, you do. So it was crazy.
Oh,
It
that's
was
fun,
exciting.
though. You had a good time.
Yeah, had a good time.
Oh, and the next time it may be.
Maybe Mail. Wouldn't that be
Wouldn't
great?
it be exciting?
It would be very
And then you could start
exciting.
thinking about the Academy Awards.
Well, I don't know.
And what you'll wear?
Well, that's the most important thing. What do you wear to
Well,
these events? I
Yes,
know.
exactly. I have a friend who's writing a screenplay, and she said, get your outfit ready for the Academy Awards because I'll expect you to walk me through the press. I said, how funny. It's a running gag that we have,
I know.
But what an exciting
So
thought.
it's exciting. It could fall apart, but it looks pretty. you know, they've kept renewing the option, and
Well, they
it
wouldn't
looks
spend that
pretty
kind of money
great.
if they weren't dead serious. The option is one thing, to keep
Yeah.
renewing it is another.
And they're wonderful. I've gone over to London to see them, and we've had, you know, lunches and dinners and
Ooh,
stuff. And
fun.
And they're lovely because they're British and they're not
Oh.
not Hollywood, so they're very sort of
Makes
down
a
to
huge
earth.
difference.
I think it does.
It really does,
Yeah.
because I know both factions, and
Yeah.
it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So it's
So what are you
exciting.
working on now?
So I've just started a new book. My first two were set in Cambridge, and The End of an Era is set, as I said, in Maine and London and New York. And I'm back to Cambridge
Are you?
with the new one. But I've just started. You know, it's barely hatched.
Do you
or
have a
even
working title, or are you not
I don't
selling it?
even have a title, and so often these things fall apart. You know, you write 10 pages, so that I'm reluctant to talk about it.
I understand.
Just that it's in Cambridge, and it's pretty wacky.
Oh,
It's
good.
wacky.
You have such a
Yeah.
great sense of humor. You're one of the
Oh.
few people who can write comedy well. You write humor
Oh,
well.
thank you.
I mean,
Thank you.
you know, you handle it so well that it's comfortable. It's within the characters as you're reading,
Oh,
which is
I
difficult
like-
to do.
Yeah,
you know,
and
you
I
do.
like humor in books. I think
I do too.
one of my biggest bugaboos is a lot of people think if you write funny, it means you're light, L-I-T-E.
Mhm.
But I always tell people that, you know, those of us who write comedy write about the same things. I mean, we write about love and loss and life and death,
And
and
it's more difficult to write
it's
that
more
way.
difficult to give a comic twist to
And if you don't see the
all
humor
these
in
things.
these serious things, I think you end up in a straitjacket
That's
somewhere.
right.
I think
That's
there's a
right.
little padded room waiting for them.
Yeah. That's right.
We are going to be taking a break in a minute or two,
Okay.
and then we'll be back because there's some more things I want to discuss with you.
Okay,
But
great.
what would you like people to know about End of an Era before we go to our break?
I think it'll appeal to everybody because I think everybody has had a first love, and it's about the power of first love and how it lingers no matter the choices that you make. Everybody's had a grandmother or an aunt or somebody eccentric. And it's a story of a marriage, a long marriage, and children, and the meaning of home, where you live and where your heart is and what home is, and travel. I think it has a lot of themes, and it's funny.
Oh, it's a
But
wonderful
it's my dark novel. It has some sadness in it too. It's all funny things
That's
have
life.
to have. That's life.
book. Exactly. It's wonderful. We're going to be right back with
Okay.
Mameve, and we're going to talk some more with
Beautiful.
her about the writing process and what she's been doing. And if you'll wait right there, don't move. And we'll be right back with more of Mameve Medwed.
Holiday gifts can be full of surprises. Some are the same year after year. And luckily, others are returnable. But with all the holiday excitement, it's not the best time of year to bring a pet into your family. Remember, puppies don't make good gifts, and puppies cannot be returned. A message from the American Kennel Club.
Will you comfort her and keep her in sickness and in health?
We will.
I now pronounce you family for life. I love seeing my puppies go to loving homes. I also make sure that new owners know that a dog is a major lifelong commitment.
Responsible ownership starts well before you get a dog. Be prepared for house training, obedience training, visits to your veterinarian, grooming, feeding, walking, and cleaning up after your dog. And just like family, a dog is for life. A message from the American Kennel Club.
Welcome back to a very special Creatively Speaking. My guest is Mameve Medwed, and we're talking about her new book, End of an Era, and her other books, Host Family, and her first book, Mail, which is going to be a film. That's M-A-I-L, not M-A-L-E. I wanted to clarify that for the single
thank
women
you.
out there who,
Yes.
who might be thinking, oh boy, it's a dating
But
manual.
there are MALEs in the book.
That's
however.
right, absolutely. Your name is fascinating, and I mispronounced it right at the beginning. You had started to tell me you were named after two grandmothers.
I was named after two grandmothers, a Mamie and an Eva. I think that's quite an awful thing to do to a child.
I was going to ask how you felt about it.
I know. So Mamie, it's really a mouthful. And then I married a man named Medwed. So I'm Mameve Medwed. It's rather an alliterative name. And I have a sister named Roby, who married a man named Roggy. So she's Roby Roggy, and I'm Mameve Medwed. Pretty disgusting.
No, it's pretty funny. The family reunions must be a riot.
I know. But of course, I used to pretend it was French when I was a teenager. So people would ask me what my name was, and I would say, Mameve. Seemed much more sexy.
Oh, that's
somehow
cute. Was one of those grandmothers the role model?
It wasn't. It was, my grandmother was named Helen. She's Marguerite in the book. But it was her mother who was the Eva of the Eve in Mameve. Yeah. So my great-grandmother.
Your great-grandmother was the inspiration for
Yeah.
that character.
No, but my grandmother was the inspiration.
grandmother was-
But my great-grandmother was the Eve of
Oh,
Mameve.
okay.
And another grandmother on the other side. It's so complicated. I know.
Okay, we're having fun.
I know.
Tell me about your teaching. You have taught, which of course you're far too busy for right now. Your students were very lucky, but how do you go about teaching? For me, this is impossible, teaching the process to someone else.
I've taught for about 25 years, taught creative writing.
Wow.
And I can't, as you know, you really can't teach somebody to write, but you can teach somebody to be better. And I, don't lecture anything. I just work with the manuscript. So if they hand in a story, I can read the story like an editor, and taking their sentences, taking their paragraphs, I can talk about what works and what doesn't work in the story itself. But I can't really stand up in front of a class and tell them how to write.
How do you handle that? Because you're teaching a class, so at some point or another you have to say, "Hi, I'm Mameve Medwed,"
Yeah.
and do something.
Yeah.
What do you tell them to expect?
I have given exercises in class if people are desperate, but really the people who take my classes, and I've been very careful about whom I accept into the class, are people who have work in progress. So they submit manuscripts in advance, and I can handpick them.
And you can critique them. And
yeah, so they're people who are working and who have stuff to work on. So that's what we do. It's a really hands-on.
Are they published or hoping to be
A
published?
lot of them have been published. I've had incredibly talented writers. I had Susan Power, who's won all kinds of, who's a Native American writer who's won all kinds of awards for a book called Grass Dancing. I had Ken Harvey, who wrote a wonderful book of short stories, Rate Your Soul, our title. Tuttle, right now they're all flying out of my head. But people who've published, whose books have been in the store, who've, Marty Lineback, whose book Dying Young was actually a movie with Julia Roberts.
Wow.
So over the years, very successful people. And I really believe strongly that if somebody is talented, eventually that talent will be recognized. And that you need some talent to begin with, but if you've got it, you can get better. And there are techniques that you can learn about
So
the
they
craft.
come in, they're published, and yet there's not an ego situation, so they come in trying to hone the craft.
Yeah, we were talking at the break about how thin-skinned some writers are, and how difficult it is to have criticism. And it's always so wonderful to have encouragement. So I always try to find everything I like in a manuscript, as well as the things that need improvement or don't quite work.
That's
And that's important because a lot of people have been really discouraged. And I found that out myself when I was working with somebody who had taken my class many, many times and who was a wonderful writer who had published a lot of stories. And I felt, this is a person, who knows how good she is. So I just got right away into the things that didn't work. And at the end of the class, she said to me, "Oh, it was terrible, my book." And I said, "No, it's wonderful." And I realized she only heard my criticism and didn't realize how much I truly loved her writing. So you do have to be careful.
I think especially when you're talking about fiction, it's so close to the
so
person.
personal.
It is very personal.
It
It's
is.
not like nonfiction, which
That's right.
a certain amount of it's personal and the rest of it's just plain fact and the way you handle it.
That's right.
But with fiction, you're really cutting
it's close to the bone.
It's like
Yeah.
actors getting rejected
That's
for a role.
right. But that's part of the process.
Right, exactly.
Rejection is a built-in
You bet. It goes with the territory.
It goes with the territory, unfortunately.
Yeah, rather
but
like
it
walking
does.
a tightrope without a net. You just get used to it.
I know.
I don't know that anybody learns to fly unless they're up at a certain level.
At a certain level,
And
but
then
you just have to keep going.
And I wonder if even then some of them aren't worrying about where's the next novel coming from.
Oh, we
and what's it
always
gonna
worry, and you think when you start out that before you've been published, you think all I ever want in my whole life is a book, and then you get the book, and all you think is all I ever want is a bestseller and a nice cover and good sales and promotion and a fabulous lunch on my publisher. It's just never enough. I mean, the worries and the anxieties just get ratcheted up. So instead of worrying about publishing a book, then you're worrying about your reviews and promotion and sales. And
It never ends.
It
And what
never
most people
ends.
don't realize is that even though they assign a publicist for about 3 months to the book,
yeah,
you end up doing all of your own publicity. So it's 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs. You're
It's a
writing and
full-time,
you're
yeah.
publicizing.
Yeah, it's a full-time job, and it's something that you're right. We don't think about promotion. We think only about the writing, and the writing is something we can control, and this other stuff we can't control, and a lot of us are not good at it because we're shy and we sit in a room
That's
in our
just it.
pajamas and we write. We're not public personalities at all,
That
and then
is
we're
exactly.
forced onto a stage, forced to do readings, forced to be interviewed, and
Do lectures or
yeah,
whatever
do
it takes
lectures, and it's tough. It's I now love it, but in the beginning I was just absolutely petrified.
Oh, it's fun
really
to meet
scary.
the readers. I mean, the book's going out there.
Yes.
You just don't, there's some sort of mind thing that happens that somebody's buying it, but suddenly there's
Yeah.
a face to it and somebody's saying, yeah, I
Yeah.
really like your work.
That's the best part, to meet the readers and to hear from, I was sick or I felt awful and I read your book and it just gave me such pleasure.
What a nice
that's
thing to be
so
able to do for
wonderful.
people.
That's right.
I
Yeah.
find that satisfying.
I love that. It's the best.
Do you have a website?
No, no.
That's what we
Am I
send
the
our viewers
last
to
person?
it.
Am I the last person?
Well, mine
On
needs
Earth?
updating so much that it might just as well not be
Well,
there,
you can go to my publisher's website and there is stuff on me. So it's twbookmark.com.
Okay.
So, and then they have all their authors. It's AOL Time Warner, and they have all the authors. So you can find some interviews and stuff with me. But
Well,
I don't
good.
have my own.
Oh,
I don't
well.
know how to do that, and it just seems.
Well, I don't do it myself.
Yeah, you have a webmaster.
I have a webmaster.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a woman, so it's a webmistress. Somebody said that
Yeah.
sounded really kind of strange.
Sounds pretty nice.
Well, it sounds like maybe you'd have another book out of that if you
yeah,
really wanted to.
I know. Well, maybe
There's a
I'll do it.
character.
I'm not, I can barely do my email and my word
Well,
processing.
that's all I can do is email and
Yeah.
word processing, but I had somebody else build the website for me, and I'm just changing people. So there will be a new site going up.
Oh.
But that's so much considered a business calling card now.
Yeah. I think more in nonfiction than it is in fiction.
I see it in both.
You do? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because then you have a whole community of your readers.
I know who
Looking
email
for-
you, and it's probably great because you can while away all your time emailing your readers, and
Well,
you don't have to write.
email them. What you can do if you want to is set up a newsletter. Most fiction writers do that, and people are on a mailing list and go out.
I see.
So you don't have an email address where they can write to you, but they can sign up for a mailing. So you can keep in touch and let them know when a new
Oh,
book's
that's a
coming
great
out.
idea.
Yeah, so for fiction writers, that's
Okay.
fine. I have people who track me down anyway and ask questions. I don't know how they do that because I'm not that good on the internet.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do that with my next book. Whenever I write that
Oh, but
next
this
book.
one's wonderful. This is
Oh,
such a
thank you.
satisfying read.
Oh, I like it. I think, your books are your children, so you feel connected to all of them and you love them equally, but somehow the latest one is closest to your heart and it's your baby.
You keep
so
getting
this
better
is my
and better
favorite.
and better.
Oh, that's what I hope. I
I
hope
mean, it's
so.
wonderful. I enjoyed the first 2, but this one was, oh my gosh. And
That's
it
what
was-
I like to hear. That's what I like to
This
hear.
was so wonderfully satisfying. Are your children creative? Are they
My
writing too?
children are, my older son, who's a law professor, won the fiction prize at Andover. He'd kill me
How
if he knew I
fabulous.
ever, and he's
Well,
a
that's
wonderful
so-
writer. And my other son is a great music lover who has written about music and stuff. But they're not in the arts, either of them.
But they have the ability
But
if they wanted to.
yeah, and they're great readers. They both read all the time,
Oh,
which
I
is
wonder
just
why.
wonderful. I know.
I mean, it's wonderful to pass that along.
Yeah, I think it's just a wonderful gift that anybody can give anybody else, which is a love
Absolutely.
of books.
It opens worlds. You can just
Yeah.
disappear into a book.
That's right.
We only have 2 minutes, Mameve. I don't believe this.
No, it's.
This is so much fun. I love having you here. I can't wait for you to come back
Oh,
again.
well,
I
I
can't
hope
wait
I
to
can
read
come
your next
back.
book. Are you kidding?
Oh.
It's a standing invitation.
Fabulous.
This is just the
Oh,
best.
great. Oh,
You're
good.
wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Darlene. It
Is
was
there
a pleasure.
anything you want people to know besides go out and buy?
I would
End of an
love
Era?
everybody to go out and buy The End of an Era. You can
Oh.
get it in all bookstores and on
make a-
Amazon.
And it will make a great holiday
Oh.
gift for people who want to give someone a satisfying read and a fun kind of entertainment. It's super. I mean, especially if you've hit middle age and you start to think, what if?
Yeah.
What if's a great taking off point. Thanks so much for joining us, Mameve. I will look forward to seeing you soon. Hope you
Thank
write
you.
that new book.
I
very
will. I
fast.
hope so.
I'm terrible. I want to read the next
Oh,
book.
thanks, Darlene.
Thanks so
it was
much for
great
joining
being
us.
here, as always.
Oh, pleasure having you here. And thank you for joining us again. And please join us the next time we're creatively speaking. Good night.
Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9.
Imagine not being able to read. Think about the course of your day and the variety of things you will read. Approximately 2.2 million adults in Massachusetts are functionally illiterate, but there is a program dedicated to helping others learn to read, write, and speak English. Literacy Unlimited is a nonprofit volunteer organization founded to combat the problems of adult illiteracy in the Metro West area. The program is housed in and sponsored by the Framingham Public Library. Potential students and tutors are encouraged to stop by the office on the main floor of the Framingham Public Library or call 508-879-3570 extension 214. All information received is confidential.
This program gives us much more than we expected, far beyond our expectations.
Carlton Bailey of the New York Giants.
It takes hard work and a commitment to make it in the pros.
And that means training.
Training, it's for everyone and for every dog.
That's it.
Contact the American Kennel Club for free information about training your dog.